in the daily forms of mobility, in cars and in other smaller types of micromobility vehicles, where electrification is more and more important all the time. And in just a few years, I think we'll see the complete domination of that. Urban air mobility, or UAM, is, I think, one of those types of technologies that's emerging at a perfect time for this type of a redevelopment to be happening. And incorporating that, which is kind of the next generation of those trends of electrification and connectivity, into the very fabric of how this portion of the city is being defined, will enable something that's completely new and amazing that will set apart Yongsan from many other places in the world. As I think about what are some examples of what can be applied here, one of the ideas I think that has been in many discussions I've had that has been kind of emerging as we think about the opportunity space in a place like Yongsan is the idea of kind of a mobility hub. So what are the synergies between different forms of mobility, both emerging frontier technologies like UAM that are not yet in widespread practice or widespread use, and other forms of emerging technology as well. So you think about what are the commonalities between some things, and something like electric vehicle charging for shared mobility might be something that actually is centrally located in the same place where you would want to have the demand center for UAM, and other forms of kind of this next generation of different types of mobility technologies, which I think extends into delivery as well, because a lot of the same trends of where the natural hubs that emerge when you look at the demand patterns for these different types of businesses that are emerging, all based around the idea of very highly connected consumers that can have something delivered to them or can get a ride from anywhere at any time, tend to be co-located in the same place. And so as the new portion of the city is being designed, thinking about how these things can be layered together and what are the synergies between these different types of frontier technologies, some of which are now in use, some of which are just emerging, I think is a really important thing to do up front, so that you can take advantage of the way these things work together and connect together.
How affordable are these new technologies in the area of mobility, and how soon do you think it will become really affordable?
So there's many companies that are working on this, particularly focused on aerial mobility. And this type of technology is in kind of now into the certification process with different regulators around the world. My company is working in the US, but we have a partnership with SKT here in Korea to bring this technology and actually deploy it in Korea. It's pretty exciting. The time frame is not entirely up to us because we are working with regulators, and so we have to work through that process, but it's only a few years away. In terms of like the affordability, we think that the fundamentals of electrification that we're bringing to bear in this new form of mobility, aerial mobility, will enable it to be brought to market with prices that are pretty competitive to ground-based mobility right now, kind of on the more premium end of it. So think Uber Black, not Uber X, in terms of the pricing. But we think that will be very achievable in the early days of launching this type of service as we design new forms of mobility and think about how the city itself accommodates that. I think there's many places in the world that that don't accommodate it appropriately, and I think that anytime there's a new opportunity to rethink something from the very foundation, that needs to be one of the principles of inclusiveness that's included in that redesign. Very much in line with that, I think that the ability to reimagine something in the heart of the city, a whole new portion of the city, and then keeping in mind these new technologies that are coming to bear, is just amazingly exciting. I think there's a global race when it comes to UAM, aerial mobility. There's many cities around the world that are looking at this and want to be part of this and have this type of technology in their cities. But not many, maybe any of them, have the opportunity that Seoul does to redesign such an important part of the city and put this type of mobility front and center. And it's really exciting to be able to, I look forward to working with stakeholders across the board to bring this type of mobility to Seoul and make it real for people in the very near future.
Korea being at the forefront of those technologies. That said, the newly developed space should have its own character. And to achieve this, we need to go beyond the existing cases, so-called best practices available. We need to ensure that Yongsan has its own character There are several other mega projects going on in Seoul we're all aware of, including Seoul Sangha development and also Jamsil MICE development, and also GTX construction. So there are a whole range of really big projects taking place almost simultaneously. And the city has a really challenging task of ensuring that each and every project will proceed as planned, but also to maximize the synergy among these various projects and also among different technologies that will be available. And finally, we need to remember that we have to make our city inclusive. I'd like to recommend you a movie, British movie 2016, entitled I, Daniel Blake. This is a story about a carpenter in his late 50s who has never been exposed to internet and computer and has to deal with all kinds of requests using internet and is frustrated. I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but the point is that we have to make provision for those who cannot have access to new technologies. And with that, I think we can make our city a better place to live in, not only just economically more competitive, but also more livable for all the residents of the city.